kind of tend to jump right in and not give anybody any reason to listen to me. So the reason you should listen to me, my experience, my background. I have grown up in a Fox Valley family, that's your typical family. No real exposure to anything outside the norm of our area until I was in 4th grade, and we went on an exchange for a year. My dad was a teacher, and we lived abroad for a year. So I got to experience firsthand being stared at, being talked about, being told to go back where I came from, and it really profoundly changed me, because how else would I have ever known what it feels like to be the other, except to be the other. You can't know it until you go there and do it. So fast forward quite a ways down the road, I ended up working on a master's in teaching English to speakers of other languages. I'm bilingual, and I've been a translator for more years than I'm going to do the math for at this point, more than half my life. So I understand the process of language acquisition. I understand the idea of diversity and understanding other cultures. I have a diverse family, not even bicultural. At this point, we're very multicultural. So I do have the bona fides to stand here before you and give you some ideas. So from this point on, it's going to be a lot more interactive. I'm not a real sit and get kind of person, because my brain doesn't work that way when I'm on your side of the table, so I wouldn't be putting you through that when I'm on this side of the table. So what I will ask you to do is, if you could kind of move closer to the front row, because you're going to be working with partners, and I'm going to move you around a lot, so don't take it personally, but you're going to have to do some work today. So come and sit, find somebody to sit next to if you're not sitting next to someone, and just know that that person that you're sitting next to is not going to be the person you're with the whole time.
Yeah.
I do have 2 handouts, but I'm not going to give you the handouts because I don't know how useful they really are to give out. A lot of this stuff you're just going to practice. What we're going to do is some activities, a bunch of activities. These activities are theme and vocabulary independent. So what I'm hoping you will come away with is, at least to start with, a couple activities that you really like that you can practice with your students. Because what happens over time when you use these activities is you spend less time trying to explain what you're going to do, and you actually get into the work of the practice. So it's less about teacher speak and more about the actual student practice, right? So the first thing I'm going to have you do, and you 3 can work together as a triplet, right? First thing I'm going to have you do is take a piece of paper, tear off 6 pieces. They don't have to be big. Yeah, just small. Maybe someone can share. Yeah, I didn't bring a notebook. So if you need any paper, I've got some too.
Does each person need 6 or?
Each person needs 6.
Okay.
And on 3 of them, you're going to write a T. And on 3 of them, you're going to write an L.
Can you cut them in half and cut them in quarters or what?
Yeah, they don't have to be very big at all. They can just be little bitties, really, honestly. Because all you're writing is a T on 1, or 3, and an L on 3. All right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. I don't know everybody's names, and I don't know if I'll be able to remember them, so what was your name? Linda. Linda, give me a number from 1 to 24. 13. 13.
3 of each.
Okay, so the theme will be weights and measures. That's very broad. It could be something like, on Sunday, I ran a marathon. That's a measure. How long is a marathon? 22, 6, yeah, it's a lot.
26.2 miles.
Saturday, I ran a kilometer. So, when you're ready, when you've got your, turn them over so they're face down. Tap, 3 are T and 3 are L. So, face your partner. The 3 of you can just kind of collaborate, put your heads together. One person's going to go first. Take one of your pieces of paper. I'm just going to borrow one. Take one of the pieces of paper, you look at it, you put it back down where it's in the middle between you, and you you make a statement related to, like, this was an L. So I'm gonna say, I ran 5 miles on Sunday. And you have to say whether it's true or false, a truth or a lie, and why.
So the T is a truth and L is a lie.
T is truth and L is a lie.
So you can tip these over?
Yep, face down.
And so I say to you,
So my statement is, I ran 5 miles on Sunday.
I think that's a lie.
Why?
Because you just said you ran a kilometer.
Oh my goodness, she listens.
Correct. So you win that one.
So
And
I
now
know if
it's-
I say it's a lie and it was a lie.
Yep,
Okay.
she was right. So you just take turns going back and forth, truth and lie. Just practice it a couple times. We have weights and measures, it could be anything. To make a cake, you use 15 cups of flour.
Okay.
It could be anything.
Potato pancakes.
Okay.
We'll have to take one first. You
No,
do.
I first turn.
What do you?
If I understood her right, I turned one over, I know it's
So
okay.
I
lost 3 pounds on Saturday.
Right, and then if we get it right, then
Oh,
you
wait.
give me
No, I
the piece
say
of
it
paper, you
again.
give him the.
I know, right?
You know what's on my day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you say a sentence and I try to guess what.
Oh, no.
Based on whether she-
So you keep that one.
It was a
I-
T, so
Oh, and I-
because it matches.
She gets wrong, so you keep it.
Okay, so you take the true piece of paper and maybe you give it each a true. We both get a vote,
Lie.
we both get
And then you pick it up
a
and
point.
you get it
You
because
got
that's
one
a lie.
point? Yeah, that's the impression I got. Yeah.
All right.
I have 4 cats.
Is the discussion supposed to ensue as a result of this?
Oh.
And what do you got?
Maybe it should be more.
I used to have
So 4.
Yeah. When you roast them, it's not as much though.
Yeah, but it was.
Oh my goodness.
I rode my twice
I think
yesterday.
it's a lie.
You think it's a true?
I drove
It's a lie.
30 miles to
And
see
so
my mom
if I,
last week.
if it was true and she says it's true.
Well, and what I'd like you to do is listen from her why she thinks it's true.
Oh,
So you-
okay.
Oh.
You
So
won
she's
that one.
speaking,
Right?
yeah.
No, because
All I can do is read your face.
wait, no, that you should have told me the truth.
So then I guess it's
Right.
kind of like, why do you think
So
that's a
I
lie?
rode my bike twice.
Yeah,
Was
because,
it true?
no, it was false.
Oh,
It was a lie.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why
okay,
you
so
won
you should
it.
have, but you should have said, if you pull it.
I thought I was supposed to look at it.
No, you look at yours and
I
then.
said, we'll do that for the
Well,
next
yes,
one.
but-
Why you think it's a truth and why
And
you
then
think it's a
whoever
lie.
guesses it.
Next
You
one.
must not have read
So
your
you're
Bible.
gonna, you're gonna make a statement.
I think I did.
So pick one of
Oh,
your
so trade her a
cards.
true.
Pick one of yours to see when you do a truth
I
or a
have to
lie.
really?
Yeah, you pick one of yours, now you know whether you're telling
Oh
the truth
my,
or
oh
a
my,
lie.
oh my, oh my, oh
My older son
my.
was 23 inches long.
I'll say
I
that's,
flew my own airplane just yesterday.
I'll say it's true.
Let's see.
I think that's truth.
Is he still tall? I may.
It
One
could have
little
been,
lukewarm
you know, but
face.
it was
I think that's true.
not true at all.
Because,
So you win that.
yesterday.
So what do I do?
So you pass him the card.
Oh.
And what you want to do is you want to elicit, so why did you think that was a lie?
Okay, I'll look now.
So that was true?
And I,
Based
I was
on,
trying to think of a more fun question about like my ingredients, but I couldn't.
It's right here.
I got a 50%.
okay,
All I'm
Okay.
doing is guessing.
okay, well, that's an answer, that's all right.
All right.
and I would have said it's a truth because it's a beautiful day.
If you were gonna fly,
If you're gonna
yes,
fly.
And I have flown and I've taught people how to fly.
Oh,
So you have pilot
having
license.
to
I,
work that
not active, but
for
inactive.
at least.
Where did you teach at?
Because of
The Appleton area,
coronavirus. Cool.
you know, so, you know, taught some people how to fly.
Oh,
Couldn't
and why do
make
you
money
think
at it,
that?
so I had to find a real
That
job.
was the
So,
standard
do you
amount of
know-
time where it was.
do you
Oh,
know-
well, look at
I know.
So is that Used to live here.
Yes.
Well.
See how it elicits conversation?
Yeah.
And getting people to talk.
Good.
Good,
Okay.
all right.
Do another
So
one.
you keep doing this?
You can keep doing that, but we can also, everybody understands the basics of that one?
Sure, yeah.
What do you think?
Just do two. She is?
It's great, because he's talking right away.
The focus is on the game,
Mhm.
so that lowers the stress level a little bit.
Mhm.
Your student is focusing on not so much I'm performing an act of speech, oh my God, just shoot me. You know, I'm so stressed out I'm gonna make mistakes. Or embarrassment at making mistakes. They're less focused on that and more focused on truth or lie. And making up their own, so.
Yeah.
And then they're explaining why it's a truth or a lie when it's their turn. All right?
Are we done with those pieces of paper?
Yeah, you can set those to the side.
Are we done with those pieces of paper? We can throw them away?
Yeah, you can set them on the side for now.
Okay,
We can use them
Or
again
you can
later.
keep them when you go to class with
Yeah.
students.
Wish we had
Already.
don't waste good paper.
Okay,
Can you give us some other topics, just one or two that we might do this with?
I've got a grid of them on the top of the page.
Okay, that's.
And I'm gonna give you all the link. I'll send Anna the link and she'll send it out to you guys. It's a Google Doc, so you can just click on it, open it, print it, save it, whatever you wanna do. Calendar, home, money and banking, colors, weather and seasons, city, sports, Olympics, cars and trucks, holidays, office. I mean, it can be whatever don't write it down. Don't knock yourself out on that, because I'll give you the whole, it's on like a little 4x6 grid.
Okay.
That if you aren't in the middle of a topic in what you're working on, it's a handy jog the memory kind of tool to just pick a topic at the end of a session or something. And that can also be helpful because your student can look at that and tell you what they want to work on, what they feel they need to work on currently. All right? So on this one, let me just grab a pen. So this time, take a piece of paper and make a tic-tac-toe board, but make it kind of big. All right? Now, down the side, put a couple of pronouns, one for each row. So, I'm going to put I, she, and we, like that. Okay? Across the top, you can, again, work on a theme or work on a verb, work on, I also have a page that I'll send with that that's a list of phrasal verbs, because those can be tricky. Yeah. So across the top, I'm just going to keep it simple, I'm going to do sleep. I know, not so easy, right? Run and sing. Oh, I picked hard ones. So it looks like this. Now you're going to play tic-tac-toe. But to win the square, you have to be able to put those two things together. So if I want to take this bottom corner here, bottom right, that would be the pronoun we and the verb sing. So I'm going to tell my partner, I'm going to try for this one. And we're just working on simple past. So not we sing, but we sang. S-A-N-G. So I won that square. Okay? This one doesn't involve a lot of conversation, but it gives your students an opportunity to both conjugate, or whatever it is you're putting together, and speak it out loud in that moment without a lot of practice beforehand, right? So go ahead and play around, and then we'll switch partners. We'll rotate.
Okay, well, I started.
No, no, that's okay.
So your turn.
All right.
I just got these in the wrong bag.
This one is for putting it
And we
into
don't
the
need
past.
to.
We gotta-
Sentence.
No, in this case, we're just doing conjugating the verbs. You don't have to have a big sentence, although if your student is more advanced, you could ask them to make a complete sentence.
Right,
And
they write in the I.
But I
We're
did.
gonna- everything you say.
No, you just X's and zeros. I mean, you could write it in, but then you're not keeping track of who's, yes.
Okay.
Then you're not keeping track of who's winning.
Into the past tense.
Okay.
That they sung would be, would, they sing would in past tense be sung, and if the person can come up with they sung, then they can put their X or their O there. I think with mine, because mine is just basically doing basic words. I'd probably put it
So,
in the
are you
same
gonna be
way,
X's or O's?
and then have the present tense in it.
Are we all working with?
They can do one and we can do one.
I am too.
I don't know.
I have no idea how to get started.
Okay. Okay, so pick one of the squares where you want to put your X.
Can I make a suggestion?
Okay.
What's your name again?
I know, I've sat with you before.
Because I think if you told us what our goal was before you.
The goal is to win tic-tac-toe.
But the goal is to get them to practice their conjugation, and this is a way to do
Right,
it.
right.
That's one way you can use it. Yeah, it all depends on what you put on the headings, what you're putting together. Mhm. It could be conjugating verbs, it could be making up a sentence. It depends on how you want to use it.
So we could have these words and say,
Sing.
Lily, my student, make up a sentence that says they and sing, and if she can do a
She gets the
legitimate
square.
sentence,
Yep.
then she can get the square.
It doesn't have to be past tense, it can be present tense, it can be whatever you want.
We're on unit 7.
It's very, it's,
We can label the tic-tac-toe
Which is the most confusing word.
present tense, past tense.
We want to use against.
it could be house, store, school, and it could be, names, and then we have to make a sentence about Janet went to the store.
Okay.
So you've got these.
Yeah,
Pick a
she
square.
read the Bible because of Congolese.
Oh, you had the middle one, you want to do that one? Okay, so,
Well, I don't,
okay, so if you're doing that one, you say she,
That's when they first met.
saying,
yeah, so you put your X.
saying.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to
My
do
bilinguals. Like the names.
be, saying, topics and themes are flexible and can be adapted to what you're working on. But by having a few of these in your pocket to pull out when you've got 10 minutes,
And also reining in the top speakers without making them feel private.
all right.
Yeah.
In that case, it'll be
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's so basic, that it's presented, we're years from that.
Okay.
Student is a ABE student.
We're going to trade partners.
Easily
So, I don't know if you want to get up and mingle, or just one partner get up and move and the other one stays.
Anyway, we all shift one to the left.
There you go.
Yeah,
We're gonna be.
well, we're going to be we're gonna have to be together, two of us have to be together anyway, so next time I'll be the one to get up in the school district.
All right, and what is your name? Barrett, pick number 1 to 24. 23. All right, so the theme on this one is disasters, natural and otherwise.
We need paper?
Wow, that's.
Yep, you're gonna need some paper. I've got more. Disasters, natural and otherwise.
D-E-R-E-D.
This time, you're going to tear a piece of paper into, let's see. We'll keep it simple. On the sheet I have 10 to 20, but for time's sake, we'll just do 8. 8 little pieces of paper on which you're going to write along the theme we talked about. Okay. disasters, natural and otherwise. So actually, if you want to do, we can do 4. We'll use the other pieces later, but let's do 4 just to not spend so much time writing. But by doing 10 to 20 each, and you can work with your student to get the vocabulary going, prime the pump, right? So disasters could be tornadoes, storms, ice storms, different kinds of storms. Disasters can be cooking related, got a few of those. Disasters can be a lot of things. They don't all have to end in death and mayhem, but they're disasters. So, work with your partner if they're stuck and can't think of very many. Work with your partners to
How many?
4. 4 disasters.
I like your disasters. Wish I thought of them.
A flat tire in a rainstorm could be a disaster. Being late to something really important could be a disaster.
I'm thinking of the things that, when I have some made things hard.
When you're done, turn them upside down and put them in the middle between the 2 of you or between the 3 of you. And what you're going to play, I call it matchy-matchy. It's kind of like memory, but it's not memory. So face down and in the middle.
Do we write the name of the tornado?
You can, or you can just put tornado. Because if you think about your students' experience, would they know the name of a specific tornado? They might. Or you might explain it if you get that card. Okay, put them in the middle, put them all together. Decide who's going to go first. You could have the student go, you could go first to show your student how to play it. Or you could have the student go first if you've played it before. Pick 2 and turn them over. Any 2.
Go ahead.
No.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Pick 2, any 2. So you've got 4 and 4. So just pick 2.
No.
You can do 2 of yours, you can do 2 of hers, you can do 2 of one of each. What are your 2 disasters?
Locked out of the house and a house fire.
Locked out of the house and a house fire. So now what you're going to do is take those 2 disasters and explain how they are connected.
Okay, so I
These
was
2?
locked.
Yeah, so what have you got?
In the spring, after a snowstorm.
And my house.
This is driving down the road and this one is at home.
Okay, so what are they? That's highway
Sinkhole.
sinkhole, and what's this one?
Out of the kitty.
Okay, so how are they related?
Fire.
Not a good thing.
How can you relate them together?
They both involve me and my happiness.
Okay, you got it.
No, and I use it.
That's very vague.
If I can't get the cat fed, the cat's gonna get after me. I drive my car into a sinkhole, somebody else is gonna get after me.
All right, there you go. That's what I'm looking for, is more speaking than just,
Only tell a story.
yeah. All right, keep going, do a few more. So you can turn those back over. And you could mix them up and turn 2 more over.
Well, turn over to yours.
Our relationship is that.
Cyclone.
Yeah.
All of the infrastructure and the source systems.
I was unsure if Corona was
Interesting. Very stormy.
origin flooded.
Very good.
And so they had told her how to could be separated to us. Disaster in another setting.
Do you see how this can lead to conversation where just stating a topic isn't necessarily the starter? But this, again, you've got an activity that is distracting from the stress of I have to perform, I have to speak.
Very good. Yeah.
All right. And just by varying the theme or the topic, you can come up with totally different
I
conversations.
like that.
That's nice, I like
When there's
It's
a
amazing
flood, you
how you
can't see
can
the sinkholes.
It's true, and floods can cause sinkholes.
That's true. Because the water comes up and the dirt goes down. It's amazing.
Washes things away, yeah.
That's what happened in Noah's.
Sinkholes are scary.
West Virginia, and they had a really intense
Yes.
storm there.
I think it's the deep dark closet kind of scary because you just don't know when they might happen.
And when they
Right.
happen, like people block houses on the roadside.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Those ones where you see the car just tipped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
Very good. Backyard is going?
Or it could be carrying a live turkey.
Yeah, it could be a live turkey, and you're afraid that they're.
Same thing.
All right, are you ready for the next one?
Okay,
So on the next one, let's see, and tell me your name.
Lee, L-E-E,
Pick a number 1 to 24.
13.
Oh, we had 13 already.
When, where was I?
That was the first one. You just didn't hear her say 13, but it
I
was
see,
13.
okay.
We've had 13, we've had
21.
23, 21, awesome.
Did you picture age?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've forgotten how long ago that was.
All right, doctor or dentist visit. So this one is 3rd time's a charm. And what I'd like you each to do is write 3 sentences related to a doctor or a dentist visit.
How many pieces of paper?
1 piece of paper,
Okay.
just 1 piece of paper. And what you can do is if you want to be more specific about a vocabulary word, you can do that too. You can leave it more broad, but 3 sentences related to doctor or dentist visit.
Subject and verb and,
Yep, just a full sentence. Doesn't have to be true, doesn't have to be about you personally, but it can be based on your experience. But the idea is related sentences.
related sentences.
So
Oh,
all.
they're all
Or no,
related.
sorry, related subject, related subject, yeah.
So if you're talking about a dentist, you do 3 things about the dentist,
Yeah.
is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay.
Dentists are evil, dentists are mean, I don't like dentists. Not true. Spelling doesn't count, grammar doesn't count, punctuation doesn't count.
Grammar doesn't count.
Grammar doesn't count. Did you know grammar doesn't count? If someone is speaking and they make a mistake in grammar, you will understand them. Anybody will understand them.
Yep.
That is like, it's important, but it's not critical. And this, we don't care, it's not a writing exercise. So we don't want to focus on correcting those things that aren't important to speaking. So, yeah, it's hard not to do that. But once you start critiquing,
They shut down.
conversation goes downhill fast,
Yeah.
even with native speakers.
Yeah, well, it's true no matter what.
Right,
Yeah.
in every sense,
Mhm.
absolutely. Although I do correct Twirl's grammar when I'm online. Criticizing somebody, but you can't even use the right version of your, fail. But only the trolls. All right, so now what you're gonna do is take turns explaining how your 3 sentences are related. Trade papers. And when it's your turn as the teacher, you can lead, but remember, the idea is to get the student speaking, so you're only leading enough to kind of give the example and get the ball rolling. So, okay, go ahead.
Is this like happy gas? So,
Really understand what's going on. That's what I got.
I don't understand.
All right, let's see.
Explain how they're connected, determine how deep the cavity is and what treatment.
Yeah,
The three sentences. So she took the
So,
X-ray.
We explain how they're connected.
After
Yeah,
the X-ray,
You want to
or
explain
during
how
the
they're connected, and you
procedure.
can read them out loud if you want. This is a very flexible, it'll kind of
She
depend on the
explained to
level of
me
the student.
problem with my
And when
teeth.
you're writing your sentences, you'll want to keep that in mind too, that you're not,
So,
you're writing at the right level for the student.
My medical
these are
doctor
pretty
was
story,
in
all
London.
three was
He
did
was
kind of
trained in
sequential
Virginia.
storylines.
I have an appointment with him tomorrow.
Yours,
One
yours
thing that all these
is
sentences that ties them all together is they're all about the same.
But you did, you flipped between dentist and doctor, and that's why
Right.
there was both Dave and I ended up doing just basically like a sequential,
Okay.
first, second, third.
So if I'm the teacher,
Cass?
I've got these three sentences.
Good. That sounds good to
The
me.
goal is to
Yeah, isn't that the
my
truth?
student.
What would you say ties those two sentences together?
White teeth.
Give me a little more. That's a two-word answer. Give me a little more.
We're talking about
Advanced in mind, so
the,
we're probably, if you had.
what happens in the dentist office,
So
and then
I'm
you see
sitting there
first,
thinking,
you
I
walk
could
in.
not do this with
Okay.
my
Here's
sleep.
the receptionist, and then there's
To
the
get
person that
her to read
opens her
it
mouth and
and to
and
make sure
props
she
it open and
understands.
does the
that.
Yeah,
nasty things to your teeth.
Mhm.
My student
Have you
has
ever
to
been
be-
with a dental hygienist compared to a
Okay, so you have
dentist?
more advanced.
Yes.
I think so.
What did you think?
I had to teach.
What did you think
Well,
of the
one of them
dental
does the
hygienist?
cleaning and the other one does the drilling and the.
Yeah,
What do you-
and the,
What's the
making
common?
noise.
what are we talking about?
Good.
We're talking about- You read these.
So
what's
when
the
you're
thing?
doing this, you can
Yeah.
ask follow-up questions to elicit
Yes.
more
Should I say-
speech and give them the opportunity to practice more related vocabulary. And one of the things you're
So
doing.
they write the three sentences?
Yep, each of you writes 3 sentences, and one of the things that that's doing is reading those sentences
It
is,
would almost be easier, rather than write some sentences, to ask that question with an advanced student. and
All right.
have them kind of keep
I'm gonna bring you back to center for a second. One of the things you're doing when you're writing these sentences, and one of the things your student is doing, is you're firing the parts of the brain related to this vocabulary. So your sentences are going to be different from your student's sentences, but they're on a related topic, because we said doctors and dentist appointments, right? So you're getting things going in their brain, they're writing sentences, you're firing those neurons that are related to that vocabulary. That helps with retention, and it helps with priming the pump for them to talk, because they're thinking about this vocabulary before they have to talk about it. And having those sentences to read does the same thing. Does that make sense? Yeah. And by giving them those sentences, you're giving them something to focus on and build on with their response, instead of just kind of trying to have a conversation out of the blue. So that is third time's the charm.
Out of the blue. Out of the blue.
Random.
Don't answer that.
Out of the clear blue,
Out of the sky or out of the ocean?
out of the clear blue sky.
Out of the blue.
Or 3 sentences, you might.
Fair winds and following seas otherwise.
If you go to the doctor.
That's a good.
All right.
But so-
Yeah, with my machine.
I had written, I had a qualification business. Just simulate.
Let's see. Let's see.
What
is your name?
Cassie.
Cassie. 1 to 20.
I had a type of give it to them. Actually, no words. Start off with me and then he would respond. So, because I know he.
All right, that is school. Some of your students might go to school, they might have children who are in school. School here is a very different experience. All right. So this time, you're going to write another tic-tac-toe board. And you're gonna give your student, and you're going to give yourself about a half a minute to a minute to write words related to school in the Tic-Tac-Toe board. This is kind of a cross between Tic-Tac-Toe and Battleship. So you don't want to let them see your words, and they don't want to see, and you don't want to let them see your words, and they shouldn't let you see their words.
So you write them in the box.
Yep, in each of those squares, you're going to write some word related to school, and you could narrow this down. In fact, I would recommend narrowing it down because school is a very broad topic. So maybe we should say, I know y'all have started already, but maybe we should say things that students use in school.
Like supplies.
Supplies, that's the right word.
Does it have to be one word or can it be?
It can be a phrase. Okay. You're going to take turns, and you could lead to kind of get the activity going. But here's what you're going to do. Who's ready?
And I've got 6,
All right.
9.
So I'm going to, on the other side of my paper, draw another tic-tac-toe, and I'm going to point to the one that I want to pick. I'm going to pick the center one.
Okay. Lunch.
No, don't tell me. Okay, I'm going to pick a different one.
Don't listen, don't listen.
Like Battleship?
It's a little bit like Battleship. I'm going to pick this one.
Okay.
Now, you have to start telling me words related to it, and I have to guess it.
Oh,
like a password.
So this is something I have to prepare for.
No, it can be on the spot.
I'm giving you the clue.
You're right.
Something you have to prepare.
Oh, that is the clue. A test?
Boy, is this real life.
A test?
Yes.
All right, so I got that one.
All right, this is kind of fun.
Yeah, so now you pick one.
I want the upper right.
This one?
No, the other one.
This one?
Yeah, that's
Okay. That one, okay. It takes markers.
Dry erase board.
Yes. Sting. No, that's not, they can't. All right, your turn.
Okay. You got a point to mark.
Oh, yeah.
I'm here for you.
This one.
Okay. Okay. This is something you write upon.
Notebook?
No. This can be in the notebook.
Line. A line. Paper?
Paper.
Paper. See? All right, go for it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You two.
Okay.
We know all yours.
Okay.
Bye.
It was
I think I would by default.
Yeah.
How about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
These will be.
Yep.
Just pick a square.
She'll send an email. You can send an email with the links.
Oh, Anna's still back there, hi.
Yeah. She'll send an email with the link. The link will open the Google Doc and you can print it out or save it.
Only one.
Yeah.
You write on
Yeah.
whiteboard.
And you don't have to do all of them. I mean, start with 1 or 2.
Give it a try.
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
The one in the upper right-hand corner.
What did you sit on?
This one?
That's fine.
A chair.
What did you sit in?
And now we can break up the
That's actually a good distinction, huh? The same.
Okay, give me a square.
The same one, we'll just do the same one.
Okay, how you tell the dates?
Okay, and you just,
Calendar.
you
You
guess,
guessed it right. It was
okay,
right.
so,
Okay,
now you
I'll
gotta guess
say
what's on mine?
lower left-hand
Yep.
corner.
Yeah, I want the middle one.
You've already gotten this one. But you write on a whiteboard with.
Oh, a marker. Okay. Okay.
to get rid of
Same
something you've written with a pen.
White out.
Something I carry with me that I write in.
Smack dab.
a notebook.
Yeah.
Yay, which square do you want?
Oh, I see.
Let's say
Okay.
top middle, or
Upper
just
left.
pick anyone.
Okay,
This one?
upper right. The electronic equipment
Things you
you
write with.
use to write your
Did
paper?
you choose? Okay,
Computer.
it's my, it's a pencil.
I think we've covered.
Actually had two words in there.
A pen?
Yep.
Smaller
Pencils and pens.
computer that I
There you
can
go.
use.
A laptop?
A little smaller than a
I'm
laptop.
gonna go for this one.
Yeah, or I put tablet.
Okay, okay.
Tablet, more
What do you think,
than one.
pencils?
Yeah, yeah.
Duh.
Yeah, I watch right now. What people my age have to wear in order to see the whiteboard.
Lower left.
Glasses, good, good.
Actually, I can see the whiteboard at the bottom, I just can't see the notebook.
Yeah,
You use these
well,
in
I had
class.
to wear glasses in second grade to see the chalkboard.
Yeah, I did in fifth grade, and I
Yeah.
did fifth grade.
But that's not
Yeah.
very used.
We've used all my words.
Okay.
Oh.
I said,
That's
and
Computer, not a computer.
I actually
good.
picked up, that's how I like one word, there's another one I
but I
wanted.
like the, guess the word.
What's a
Yeah.
different word for heading machine, right?
I'm not sure.
Calculator, I see, okay.
I'm not sure I'm taking that for this.
Building a plan.
Yields a lot.
I agree.
Right,
So
right,
just through the
the conversation
sentence.
is better
Yeah.
by itself.
That's the whole
That would
point,
help to be
a
more well
mechanism
understood.
to gain the conversation.
Don't go outside without
That's a real
putting on your,
Boots.
Having
well,
my
keep going
students
one end to the other.
self-generate.
Keep going, it's too far.
Coat.
There you go.
You could do that, you could have a list of
Yep.
school topics.
Center left.
And you could do this, pick 1 through 10.
Right.
Okay, number 9. Number 9 is
You
erasers.
use these to keep
Let's
your
have a
papers.
Somebody
conversation
that's
about
individual
erasers.
sounds and somebody's a super segmental.
And at least
And
if you
got the
use
wrong
I got
number.
some in my pocket.
Wrong or mistake, and it
No
has
matter how
a eraser.
perfect everything else is, nobody will understand.
My
And the
pointer.
tic-tac-toe game,
You
get that visual.
If
Yeah.
you use
Flyers,
actually
yeah,
the actual
here.
tic-tac-toe.
And it's almost like that, then you choose a word.
It's like getting a grade at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Going to tally how much.
Yeah, they eat the ends of the words.
effort to elicit.
Dominicans, Cubans, Nicaraguans from out in the bush. Yeah, right.
I've been working with an ESL student.
I had overlined, kind of trying to say, she's a, I've given a older picture to use.
Yep.
And, just the one.
Cubans and
and
Dominicans, I think, are the hardest in that sense.
But they wanted me to keep it and not send it with her, and so I'm like, so actually I bought a.
He said his dad was
books
pretty
for
smart.
$3 online,
Good.
an older version of it, so it's not an exact
So I
match.
was trying
Right,
to figure out,
right.
is he an alcoholic?
But I'm
But,
thinking if
but once you know it,
Because
it's
like
easier
a
to target that.
well,
it's
it's easy to
longer.
understand them.
Wasn't
And
real
then I
smart,
could
then I
say
realized
any
maybe
of
he's
words,
got
but how do you
DNA
do that
from
when you have her
and
citizenship give me a sentence?
Yeah.
Because
Or give me a
That's good, well, and that's the
sentence
thing,
with
because
the
that's
word
stress.
in it, so I know she
So that's gonna make it
understands.
so
you know, remembering things is so slow.
Every sound
Take
takes.
words in and try to leave
Part
it
of the
out.
curriculum is
Plug in the
Right.
dots, and I can't remember the lesson stay.
cut out.
There's
The
a,
next time we get
there's a
together,
neat
boom,
app
last
from
time is gone.
Microsoft called
So,
Flipgrid.
and stuff is
That is an
slow,
educational
and
app.
stick a little bit
That's
better.
really cool.
Yeah.
It's used for teachers and students in regular classrooms. The teacher gives a video
Learning
prompt,
English,
the
obviously
students
you want them to say
respond.
language versus.
with video.
Telling
And that's one of the tools that I'm using to elicit responses. And then
Yeah.
go over with certain criteria what you're.
He's got a good job.
So it's just little short snippets, but it gives them.
Self-generated is really key.
It is. All
My
right.
student wants to speak more, so I'm taking me because he'll
All those moms being a soul burner.
Do you see how these activities really do a good job of eliciting conversation?
Yeah.
Even if you go off on a tangent, does it matter? No, because you're talking, your
Yeah.
student is talking,
Yeah.
and that's what you want to get. So, excellent. All right, we're gonna switch around again. We got one more to go.
Come on over there. Sure.
Those are hers.
Stir it up.
Can I keep it?
I have a big judge.
I don't keep it very long, but I'll keep it.
Oh, use up as much as you can.
We're using some.
We have stacks of these. My dad used to teach, like I said, and I got stacks of notebooks still from when he retired.
No, that's cool.
The students leave things at the end of the year.
Okay.
Threesome.
No, because we lost a student, so now we're even.
Okay.
Even
Oh,
Stephen
that's
is here.
I was wondering.
Yeah, she had to take off.
Okay, you have to leave at 9:30.
Okay.
I'm saying you were here by yourself. We work together, your student.
Yeah,
Can you give me a number?
I just saw you recently.
All right, this is a fun one.
At Orlando.
good. I can't remember.
Okay, grocery store. Actually,
Dave, I'm the rest.
I knew it was a unique
That's
name.
a surface or whatever.
yep, grocery store. So this theme is the grocery store, and the game is one-upmanship. So, you're just gonna take turns, back and forth, outdoing each other. So one of you starts, maybe the teacher to make it a little easier, and you say something like, when I went to the grocery store, the parking lot was so full, I had to walk a quarter of a mile from where I parked just to get in the door. And then this will be your student's turn, and they have to outdo that. Well, when I went to the store, it was so busy. I had to walk 3/4 of a mile through snow, uphill, both ways. So it's a silly game, but it's the back and forth. It's the structure of back and forth to get the conversation going. And again, if he goes off on a tangent, did you really do that? You know, or something like that. It's conversation, it's all good, but it gets you started. Go ahead.
And the topic is grocery store?
Grocery store is the topic.
So I could never do this.
I bought some kiwis that were so bad, they were sprouting little trees out of them.
Yeah, we've been saying how long can it just, my student is like, I'm teaching her basic vocabulary, so I cannot have that. I cannot have that type of conversation. I would have to maybe use the idea of like ball, and they could do a red ball.
Well, and then
Bouncing red ball.
that's
We
right,
could just
you're building,
build on a
that's
word,
right.
but we could not use a sentence.
But that's a great adaptation. It's a perfect adaptation. And you know, some of them, it may be that activity just isn't gonna work for that student because of that, but there you go.
Every checkout line is full.
Vocabulary to do full sentences, but you could start out with grocery store, apple,
And the celery.
red apple, 10 red apples, 10 small red apples, and then what you're doing is you're teaching how to order those adjectives, or you could do adverbs, or you could do, or it could just be apple, kiwi, could be apple, kiwi, banana. You're just adding on.
Celery is crunchy.
So go ahead, try to one.
My partner and I actually sweet with each other, just like.
Well, I'm gonna say it must have been woodlands.
It's sort
Good
of.
one.
That's right there.
Exactly.
Maybe it's not 10 miles, we can't go to
But it's both
20
sides,
yards
so it's really
of
fascinating.
10 miles.
Weird sounding words, ones just kind of sound strange, so.
Like asparagus.
The grocery store I went to was
I might say
Starbucks.
squeamish, just like, some kind
Are
of
they going
simple
to have conversations, or you take down the
what it
basic
is,
terms?
like, I might say squeamish, or, I might respond to asparagus, but it's
it was in
like,
getting
there's
the-
really absolutely no rules, the important thing was to just like, not skip a beat, and not think about it, and like, just wait where we're going. So,
All right, that one was pretty simple.
Yeah.
That's kind of a word for.
Three, but they're all somewhat different flowers.
The next one is called Strangers on a Train.
Okay.
Strangers on a train. So who has not picked a topic yet? I think you haven't. Pick a number 1 to 24.
15.
15. I think that is geography. So I was just thinking that one would be fun. Yeah, travel and geography. So,
appropriate for a train.
right, perfect. So each of you is going to write down 5 or 6 words on 5 or 6, one word on each little piece of paper related to travel or geography.
5 or 6 pieces of paper.
Yep, and 1 word or short phrase on each. And by short phrase, I mean really short phrase. It should be like a vocabulary word kind of thing.
Related to what?
Travel or geography. And then what you're going to do is put those words face down in a pile in front of the two of you.
Like, we'll probably do well as well.
Trains, planes, and automobiles, right? Put them all in the pile, face down, mix them up a little. Both piles can go together. Mix them up, and then each of you pick one from the pile. It doesn't matter if it's yours or the other person's, but you're gonna each pick one. Now, you're strangers on a train, and you introduce yourselves to each other, and just start talking, and what you want to do is you want to work that word into your conversation. And the other person needs to identify when you said the word. So if I have the word map, I might say, "Hi, I'm Danny.
Hi,
Where are you going?"
I'm going to, London.
"Oh, have you been there before?"
No.
"I'm going to London too, but I have a map, so I'm not too worried about it." Now, I just said map, which is a geography, travel word. You might guess, you might say, "Was it map?" And carry on with the conversation with your, and I'll have to see when I can get, and then I pick the next word. So,
Okay.
conversation, turn taking, your turn.
Yeah, I wish I had a map. I need a map.
Is map your word?
No.
Are you going anywhere else besides London?
Yeah, we're taking a train to, Scotland.
Was it train?
Yeah.
So now you can take another card. And turn taking, it's my turn. Well, I'm going to London to fly out of the airport there. I'm traveling to Mexico, and I'm really looking forward to going to a beach. I'm so tired of the winter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're going to Mexico. Have you been to the beach in Mexico?
No, I'm really looking forward to it because Mexico has some really amazing beaches.
Is beach your word?
No.
Mexico. Okay. I've never been to Mexico.
You've never been to Mexico?
Is Mexico your word?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I got it finally.
So that's confusing, because if they pick a word that you put on the list, you know the word immediately.
Say that again?
Like, if I put ticket down and she picks it, and as soon as she says ticket, I'll say, "Is ticket your word?"
That's
Because
okay.
it was my word.
Well, you could put the word ticket, and she might use the word ticket, and she might not have actually drawn your thing that says ticket, and so then you'll guess ticket, but she had actually drawn a different slip of paper and just happened to have
And
guessed
that's
ticket.
okay. Either way is
So you don't
okay.
really know.
It just wants
Yeah.
conversation.
You're working it into
Okay.
conversation. It should sound natural,
Okay.
maybe, until they're not getting it. And then you kind of go, "Yes, I've never been to Mexico."
Okay.
So it is okay. If you feel like that's a problem, you could just keep the pile, you could trade piles. So you only, or no, you could keep your piles separate. So you're only pulling from yours and they're only pulling from theirs. But it's really not a problem because you're both trying to cram in vocabulary words that are related.
Yeah.
So it could be anything.
Mhm.
Could have been London,
Yeah.
You're a stranger.
all right? Okay, give it a go.
Just give me any sentence with this word in it, and not try
Hi.
guessing.
Are we going to
Guessing first, it makes it hard.
Right,
Yeah.
so I'm trying to
Yeah,
match
So I just pick one of your words, then I take it.
Ticket.
See, and I picked one that I did see.
Okay.
Well, anyway,
Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd be easier not to try to do this guessing part.
do you travel on a train a lot?
Yeah, strangers
I
on a train.
I do, I really enjoy
Scenario.
Yeah.
But coming up with this, any sentence that uses that, describing something really knows.
Yeah,
I'm going north.
yeah, and we did wheels and shit.
So that's confusing.
Yeah.
To go further north from Wisconsin, eventually
mine are
across the border.
Well,
You know,
I'm
but
traveling,
actually,
to
do
go
I
on
use the
vacation.
name of that country across the border? or
I don't often have any
no? It comes from before Alaska.
travel
So I'm-
vacations.
Are you going to Alaska?
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
Are you going to Canada?
I think we're going to Canada.
You thought much larger and bigger than that.
Canada.
I thought about food, I thought about the Nile River. Yeah.
You saw my favorite.
Yep.
Right.
But you could run it too, because then you could travel activities.
So, the way this structure is crowded today, isn't it?
School supplies.
I like problems.
And that can be helpful,
Yeah.
narrowing it down a little bit more. I'm okay with using these broader things because you're all native speakers, so I know y'all have a vocabulary that can,
But just because I know what the word is. I'm
receptive and
trying to
active
avoid-
that can handle it.
Avoid the shape.
Definitely narrow it down. And two, if you're working on something already,
Yeah, it's a
go
little,
back and use the vocabulary that you've been working on, right? It doesn't have to be random from a list. It can definitely, and it's a wonderful thing to do it, even to encompass what did you do in your, if you have some notes about what you did in your last lesson, you can start out your time with maybe 10 minutes of warm-up reviewing stuff from the last lesson, and then go on. Or when you're coming to the end, spend 10 minutes just rehashing, playing with the vocabulary or the grammar, whatever you've been working on. Yeah. All right. Ready to move on to another one? For this one, we're going to go back to that last tic-tac-toe grid you did that had school supplies. You keep wanting to say utensils. That's a long word.
Are we done at 10:30? Is that the deal?
Are we done at 10:30 or 11?
10:30.
Oh, okay, well, we'll do one last, actually then I'll just tell you what this one is. What you can do is use the same grid, and it's called Just a Minute, and you take turns talking about one of those items for 30 seconds to a minute. So you have to talk a little more extensively. So you could actually incorporate that into the tic-tac-toe, that when they guess correctly, then they have to talk about it. Guessing correctly could be half of getting that square. The other half is, okay, now you have to tell me about that thing. All right?
I think Dave and I were talking about is we like the activity of tic-tac-toe. Sometimes it's maybe a little awkward, but you could still just have a list of words and just have it make a sentence. And every time, a sentence, and they've used all the words.
You could.
And then the next time they need a sentence, use more words. And they're not done until they've used all the words in a sentence.
Yeah. The thing about making a game of it is the structure of the game helps lower the affect, the stress. And you can reuse that structure so you don't, and what you're talking about would be great, and the thing is, if you're incorporating that practice, you're not having to explain that process every time you want to do it. The student will already be familiar with how that game is played, and you can just go forward with that.
I suppose, or they can, if they want to do 3 in a row, they have a sentence that uses all 3 of those words in one sentence.
There you go. But
That
and
might
the
be
nice thing is you're
easier.
expanding on what is already familiar.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great one. I like that. In order to win, you have to do the 3 in a row in a.
In a sentence. Yeah, and again, with my students being
Tie it
so
all together.
basic, I need to,
Yeah.
I have to do much more simplistic activities. And that would work.
Another thought that I've had, because like tic-tac-toe is kind of awkward, like, I don't know, like it's, but like the bingo kind of idea, so like you can
Yes, you can
do
expand
bingo
the
with
grid.
like
Definitely.
definitely tic-tac-toe, and I think then like it's just visually more intuitive, because sometimes you have to explain how to play tic-tac-toe to your student, and then that kind of distracts from what
But you really only do it, you only have to do it once. But you're right, and that also allows you to gain complexity, because when you go 4 or 5, a grid of 4 or 5 across and down, that increases the complexity of what you can do with it too. Because like you're saying, then you have to tie more vocabulary together.
Yep.
Yeah. I start with tic-tac-toe because it's a 3x3 grid, and it's a good starting place for explaining the concept.
The bingo thing is kind of interesting though, because there's more chance and less competitive.
Yeah, I don't like the competitive of tic-tac-toe, but as long as we're not trying to compete against them, they're just trying to make a tic-tac-toe.
Right.
By coming up with a sentence that
That,
uses,
I like that concept.
and it's not, I'm not gonna compete against you, I'm just gonna.
Well, and the game is, the winning or losing of the tic-tac-toe is not important, as it's something to distract you from worrying about what you're doing.
Yeah.
You can dive into just talking. Yeah.
That's because we're Americans, we're competitive. Americans are competitive.
Yeah, it's not all about sports competitive. I've come to realize that I am pretty competitive, I'm just not team sports competitive. So it might be true. Anybody else?
So did you say this list of 24 or 25 items, will that be sent to us?
Yes, Anna will send out an email with a
Okay.
link and I can also put it as a PDF that she can send the actual PDF. Maybe that would be easier if you're not familiar with Google Docs.
Either way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's at the very, that table is at the very top of the worksheet. And then the phrasal verbs is a separate document because it's like 5 pages long because it's spaced out. But to me, it was easier to read, more spaced out. I don't necessarily print it.
Okay.
All right?
Good.
All right.
Good.
Well, thank you all for